Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Sector 5. I'm your host, as always, Cody the Hangman Heinzman. And Payback just ended. And I am here to give my Payback review / rundown. One thing I would also like to, a couple things I'd like to address before the video actually fully starts. One, if you've seen the predictions video, there will be a link in the description below if you did not. I made mention that would be the last episode, hopefully, where this light behind me would be gone. That is not the case. This should be the last episode where that's a thing. Also, another thing I addressed in that is talking about a headset mic. As you can see, headset mic is on. So, just a couple things to address. I do like these headset mics. This headset mic. But, anywho, with all that being addressed, let's go ahead and talk about Payback, shall we? I will be going down the list the way I talked about it in the predictions. So, as usual, non-title matches going into title matches. Enough rambling, let's get started. Enzo Amore and Big Cass versus The Club was the kickoff show. And the first match I talked about in the predictions as well. Winner of that match was Enzo and Cass. Not much more really to talk about, but this next one is a huge match to talk about. And I wish I would have put it later on my list. But, let's talk about it. The main event of the night. Yes, I'm going from the kickoff to the main event. But, I digress still. The main event of the night. Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns. One-on-one. Roman Reigns, not 100%. Roman Reigns came in, dislocated shoulder, and damaged ribs. So, that right there is a ooh. Okay. Reigns put in a valiant effort, but the winner of the match was Braun Strowman. Now, the big thing about it is what happened after the fact. Strowman wins the match, then proceeds to take the steps and take Roman Reigns with his signature move up on his shoulder and drop him on top of the steps. So that was a thing. And then after that proceeds to take the steps over top his head and right down on Roman Reigns. Let's just say Roman Reigns is not in the best of ways. He was able to walk out of the ring, but for anyone with a weak constitution, you might not want to listen for the next 5 minutes or so. Just spoiler there. Oh, not a spoiler, just a warning. Warning is the word I'm looking for. Okay, you not listening? Maybe you should give it 10 or so minutes at this point. Okay. So, after Reigns was hit with the steel steps, he was walking out, blood all through his mouth, probably because of internal damage. He makes it to the ambulance. Strowman tries to do his, I'm not finished with you. He comes running. Roman Reigns is able to get out of, basically fall out of the way, and Strowman goes the other way. And so that's mainly it. But Roman's in a bad way. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not out for a while. Anywho, Strowman picks up the win and utterly destroys Roman Reigns. is basically that match. That was the main event. So let's talk about more matches, because I put the main event second. I am special. Seth Rollins versus Samoa Joe. Winner of this match is Seth Rollins. Puts up a good fight. Looks like Samoa Joe was going to pick up the win with the sleeper, but Seth Rollins was able to reverse it, get the pin, and win. Next up, let's talk about the House of Horrors match. So, they finally gave a little bit more details of it come SmackDown. I didn't know much about it until SmackDown. So whenever I did my predictions, I was going in blind. What it was they started at the House of Horror. Like, there was a house that they did. So basically a backstage brawl. Street fight is the word to use, because they even were in like street fight attire. They weren't in their ring gear. Orton was shirtless with black jeans, and Bray had a white wife beater and his ring attire pants. So that it started there, and then proceeded to go to the ring. So, Randy Orton shows up in a limousine, walks into the house, and Bray Wyatt attacks him from behind. You know, he's looking around, where are you, Bray? And Bray Wyatt attacks from behind. It continues on through different rooms, and how that part ended was Bray Wyatt knocked a refrigerator down on Randy Orton and walked out, got in the limo, went to the arena. So that was part one of the House of Horror match. Basically, that's all backstage brawl-ish street fight stuff until the actual match started. Quote unquote, I guess. And to give the time, that's whenever, like, they did that first part, and then they did the Seth Rollins match. So, in the middle of the House of Horrors match, you had Seth Rollins versus Samoa Joe, which we already talked about. And then after Seth Rollins beat Samoa Joe, we came back to part two of the House of Horror match. Bray Wyatt makes it back to the arena. They play Bray Wyatt's music. He walks to the ring, and he holds up his hand because he thinks he's the winner. And Orton is right behind him. They fight it out for a little while, and Orton goes for the RKO, and he hits it on Bray Wyatt. But lo and behold, he gets attacked by this new tag team. I never catch the name of the tag team, but he's attacked by this new tag team that's on SmackDown, and Jinder Mahal, who has Randy Orton's WWE World Heavyweight Championship, because at Backlash, a little bit of a foreshadowing to the next predictions, Backlash, Randy Orton faces Jinder Mahal for the WWE Championship. So Jinder Mahal attacks Orton with the championship that he stole on Tuesday night. Walks out of the arena later with it after he attacks Orton with it for a second time. Bray Wyatt hits Sister Abigail and picks up the win over Orton. So winner of the match, of the House of Horror match, Bray Wyatt. So that is all the non-title matches. Let's talk about title matches. And the interesting thing with title matches is that they were all back to back to back to back. They're not in the order that I'm talking about them, but they were back to back to back to back. The second match of the night was the Cruiserweight Championship match, the one I'm talking about now. We had Austin Aries versus Neville for the Cruiserweight Championship. Winner of that match was Austin Aries by disqualification. Austin Aries had his submission move locked in on Neville, and Neville grabs the referee, throws him over top of him, and the referee has to call it because he attacked the ref. So, winner of the match by disqualification, Austin Aries. But of course, that means still your Cruiserweight champion, Neville. Which goes into the last of the title matches. It was Alexa Bliss versus Bayley for the Raw Women's Championship. Winner, hometown Bayley's. Winner of this match and the new Raw Women's Champion, Alexa Bliss. It was a good match, but in the end, Alexa Bliss picks up the win and is the first ever diva to be SmackDown and Raw Women's Champion. Next up was the third match of the night. Hardy Bros versus Sheamus and Cesaro for the Tag Team Championship. Winner of this match and still your Raw Tag Team Champions, the Hardy Bros. After the match, Sheamus and Cesaro shake the hand of Matt and Jeff Hardy, like they've been doing for the past few weeks, showing their showmanship. And then they show their true colors, I guess I'll say. And as Matt and Jeff are on the second rope celebrating, Sheamus and Cesaro toss him over the top rope and attack him after the match. So, that's interesting. And finally, the first match of the night. The last match we're talking about is the first. Good work. I don't make the show. Chris Jericho versus Kevin Owens for the United States Championship. Chris Jericho wins. He goes to SmackDown. Or Kevin Owens retains the title. Winner of this match and your new United States Champion going to SmackDown, Y2J Chris Jericho. Honestly, I was a little bit surprised that he won. But he picks up the win, and we'll just have to see what happens from there. I didn't write it down for official, because who knows what will happen before Backlash. But remember, AJ Styles has a match against whoever the United States Champion is. So, currently we have Chris Jericho versus AJ Styles again. We'll just have to see what happens from there. I'm a little surprised that that is what we're going to have, but in the end, it's all right. We'll just have to see. Again, I don't have it wrote down official because I feel maybe Kevin Owens will win back the title before then. But anywho, that is for a later date. That is when Backlash is talked about, which is the next pay-per-view. But this is Payback, which we're done talking about because we have no more matches. It was a good show. And to go back through, because I've been trying to do this the last few pay-per-views and everything, let's go through the order that these were. Of course, the kickoff show, Enzo and Cass versus the Club, was the first match because it was the kickoff. And the other thing I really didn't talk about, Finn Balor attacked Miz, so there's that as well. So we started off the kickoff show with Enzo and Cass versus the Club. Then we had the Miz TV bit. Then when the show actually started, we started off with the United States Championship match. And as I said, championship matches were championship match, championship match, championship, champion match. Because we went from the United States Championship to the Cruiserweight Championship match. From the Cruiserweight Championship match to the Tag Team Championship match. From the Tag Team Championship match to the Women's Championship match. Then from there, we had part 1 of the House of Horrors match. From there, Seth Rollins versus Samoa Joe. From there, part 2 of the House of Horrors match. And finally, Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns. So, all in all, it was a good pay-per-view. The House of Horrors match was weird. I mean, it was meant to be weird, so they did a good job with it. But I don't know. All in all, good pay-per-view. I was making tacos. Or at least the meat. I was making taco meat while watching it, so that's how I kind of remember things. But that was Payback, all in all. Again, I kind of enjoyed it. So, that's it. As I said many times during this review, Backlash is the next pay-per-view. So, stay tuned for the Backlash pay-per-view predictions. And this light. Say goodbye to it. Backlash predictions will not have this light. I'll be happy about that. And I can't wait to get this room organized again. But that's for a later date. As always, I'm Cody the Hangman Heinzman. I've been rambling. That's just how it is.